Welcome in, Michael Murray here with Benzinga, joined by Brian Esposito, the CEO of Diamond Lake Minerals. Brian, it's great to have you with us. Really exciting to see you there at the New York Stock Exchange. Thank you very much for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Benzinga, for all your support with everything that we're working on.
It's a pleasure to do it, Brian. Excited to get started here. Let's kick things off by you giving us a quick overview of your company, Diamond Lake Minerals.
Absolutely. Diamond Lake Minerals, ticker symbol DLMI, is a multi-strategy operating company. Honored to have taken over as CEO in late August of this year, and you can compare us to what I'm building to an old-school GE conglomerate type of structure. Our parent umbrella, DLMI, or Diamond Lake Minerals, will hold, acquire, build, and support industry-agnostic companies across all different types of industries. We've got tremendous support with advisors around the world, iconic ones that have joined our team and supporting our vision. And we're very focused on strong shareholder price, enhanced earnings, profitability, distribution of dividends to our shareholders. So that's been done before. It's not really focused in today's environment. A lot of people like that unicorn strategy or high valuations that aren't sustainable. I'm very old school in my business practices, so we want to build strong companies, sustainable earnings. But more importantly, what's making us pretty unique and a nice spotlight on us is that we're going to be having security token offerings with our partner INX throughout all of our subsidiaries and business units. So we're combining traditional securities with the future of digital assets in a regulated environment.
Understood. Now, Brian, you say that you're bridging traditional finance and a digital tomorrow. How exactly are you doing that, and what does that look like in practical application?
Well, we're doing it through, again, traditional regulated laws and what's allowed in the markets today. So a lot of people get confused with what is crypto, NFTs, digital assets. We are solely focused on a regulated environment in digital securities and security tokens. So what I have felt that's missing in this world as far as the wealth of the world that's sitting on the sidelines that don't understand things like crypto, they don't understand digital assets, they don't understand NFTs, a lot of friction points, they don't believe in it's real, they're intimidated by downloading a digital wallet, putting in personal information. So what we're doing as that hybrid approach is we're doing something that people are very familiar with, and that is buying a stock. So now they can be part of this entire wonderful digital asset industry by looking at stocks hopefully like ours and hopefully more that come to market and say, yes, I am in that space. I own DLMI stock. I'm in digital assets. I'm in digital securities without the, again, friction points of having to go through all those different processes of having a digital wallet. And I think this is what's going to allow people to understand that this is the movement that's happening. It is real. There's real amazing tokenized real-world assets that are happening in the world that have that security token component. And we want to be that stock that's an authority in the space. We want to be that company that shows the world how to do it. And we want to be that company that other public companies emulate and replicate our model and what our structure is.
Outstanding. Now, Brian, you've also spoken about building a business on old school business principles. How are those different from the dominant paradigm in the business environment we see today?
Yeah, I don't know when that shift happened, but if you go back 3-4 decades, it used to be solely focused on earnings. It's solely focused on building a strong pipeline of revenues, really good, supportive, sustainable businesses. That's why I like the GE structure and what I've always built in my private career at Esposito Intellectual Enterprises. That's over 23 years of my work. There's over 110 companies in our holdings. There's over 200 joint ventures around the world, and that's probably operating in over 25 different industries. So what I've been working very hard on my career is showing how companies can share resources, how you can open up new markets, how these teams and these great managements and all the support around them can actually help all other companies grow. So it's not the VC private equity model where you have one unicorn win and maybe a dozen or 100 losses and you consider yourself a success because you had a giant win. You know, we want that rising tide raises all boats. We want all these companies to succeed and thrive. And when you're in that public environment, we want to make sure that we're doing everything we possibly can to protect our shareholders. That's my ultimate and number one job, is to provide value, make sure that there's little volatility as possible, and that we have a strong, healthy, sustainable growth. The interesting thing now with the world and having the ability to have security tokens inside of our model is that we can open up capital to investors from around the world through INX that typically wouldn't have access to our types of vehicles as a public company in the United States. And that trades 24/7. So now you're combining what people are used to in traditional markets, buying stocks and bonds, and now opening up into a global digital asset community that can participate in our businesses or our business units that they never had access to. So in theory, that should also help shore up balance sheets for companies, have access to capital that they never had access to before, and allows these companies to actually put that capital to good use in a full, transparent way where you're sharing those revenues on those security token holders in real time. depending upon how your offering goes to market and depending on what piece of the business is that they'll be rewarded with.
Understood. Now, Brian, you also recently spoke at the Benzinga event, The Future of Digital Assets. I actually had the pleasure of sitting down and speaking with you for a few minutes there. Can you share some of what we discussed there at the event and what your perspective is on the future of NFTs?
Yeah, I'm looking at this entirely different than a lot of players in the space. In my private holdings, we've got some tremendous projects, like many that have been abandoned a little bit as far as the interest and the excitement. And that NFT space is still in its infancy. There was a massive movement the way that it happened because, again, there was a global shutdown. People were craving for community. Brands and athletes and entertainers and management were craving for a way to monetize their IP, which is why you saw a huge push in that space without any guardrails. And that's what happened when you had this little bit of a correction as to what is the real utility behind them, what is the real value. I'm looking at NFTs as our structure with DLMI as a distressed asset. And I'm looking at those millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of distressed assets sitting in people's digital wallets, where I believe we can create a very interesting vehicle or a system where we can convert those digital assets into one of our security tokens or a security token offering. So, what we've been working very hard on is how do I exchange something of real value, which we're holding, with something of very distressed value, which an individual or a company is holding in their digital wallet. I want to be that savior for them, and myself included, as a holder of a lot of these that have seen 90% decrease in their value. So I'm looking at it like it's a giant IP portfolio. I'm looking at it, what am I holding on our DLMI security that can actually offer that moment to transition a distressed asset into something of real value. And I believe we can create an amazing portfolio of IP, but more importantly, create a loyal base of supporters that loved what we did through over a year of working on regulatory. How do we properly do this? So my mindset is not to continue, hey, build a project, have this unique utility around it. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't work. Attach a celebrity to it. That's not the real business as I see it. I see it as tremendous IP, and I see us having a vehicle to convert that IP into our holdings.
Outstanding. Now, Brian, as we close here, what is the most important quality to smart investing, in your opinion? How do you build another Berkshire Hathaway, for example?
You go out and you make a profitable situation. It's as simple as that. I often say if you want to be in business, you have to have revenues, and if you want to stay in business, you got to be profitable. And I don't look at profitability by cutting costs, having inferior products, or firing people. I look at it as properly developing a product, a solution, technology, a piece of IP, supporting that with the right pricing mechanisms across its distribution channels, and building a real sustainable business, and sharing the rewards of that business with your shareholders and your stakeholders and your security token holders. So for my aspect, we're going to take a little piece of Berkshire Hathaway. Obviously, I referenced Jack Welch and GE, a little bit of Wayne Izinga, and we're going to create a powerful parent umbrella company that has tremendous assets on its balance sheet as we continue to build and grow. Wonderful subsidiaries that we identify as great targets for our shareholders. Enhance those businesses with our reach, our access, our relationships. Again, if you look at our board and the amount of wonderful icons that are very seasoned and very respected in their industries, having them support our vision and support our subsidiaries should give us a lot of strength and access and opportunities to help these companies really grow. And they can either stay under our umbrella and participate in supporting our shareholders and those companies and those employees, or they can spin off and be their own standalone IPO. I look at us as being a great funnel of identifying companies that need what we've built, giving them the capital, the resources, and support they need to survive and succeed, and showing them how to build businesses and giving them all the tools that they need to keep those businesses thriving, again, without going the opposite way and cutting costs or eliminating quality. We want to have great IP, great assets, great brands, and show the world how we can build them correctly and how we can share them with our shareholders. And that's how you get to those high-valued securities. And with DLMI, very low float, which is one of the reasons I was really excited to get involved and take over as CEO. The company was stuck at 35 cents a share for many years. When I took it over in August, we're sitting around $4 or $5 a share now, just on the strategy, just on the announcement of what we're doing, the great support that we're getting, the wonderful support we're getting from Benzinga and your team on showing our story and getting it out there. Sitting here at the NYSE with FinTech TV and Vince Molinari and having their tremendous support. This is what allows for companies like ours to get that exposure, educate people, have them understand what we're building and what the future of digital assets is in a regulated environment, and those are security tokens. And having the support from companies like INX to be able to put these wonderful securities and financial vehicles out into the market, we have all the pieces. And the only way you get there is building a good brand for yourself, building great relationships, and having support and trust in people like we have supporting us. And now we have to go and perform. That's the fun part. As long as we're performing, have revenues coming in, sharing those revenues with our shareholders and security token holders, then I do believe we achieve what you're asking, Michael, and we're going to have a really coveted security in the market, and I think something that people are going to want to replicate.
Excellent. Brian, it's been an absolute pleasure learning more from you here. It was a pleasure learning more from you at the Future of Digital Assets event in New York City as well. We really appreciate, as always, you sitting down with us and taking the time to explain what Diamond Lake Minerals is doing in this space and to offer us your perspective. Thanks again for joining us here today.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Benzinga, for everything.